At 90 years old, Bobby Bare stands as one of the last living legends of classic country music. Known for his warm baritone voice and storytelling ballads, he built a career that spanned more than 6 decades. But as of 2025, his life story has taken on a bittersweet edge, marked by declining health, fading public appearances, and the haunting weight of outliving so many of his closest friends and collaborators. His tragedy isn't only in the passage of time, it's in watching the world he helped create slowly disappear around him. For millions, Bobby Bare will always be the man behind songs like Detroit City and 500 Miles Away from Home, tracks that captured the struggles of working-class America and the loneliness of being far from home. Yet today, the once tireless performer spends most of his time away from the stage, quietly reflecting on a career that brought him fame, but also moments of deep personal loss. To understand the heartbreak of Bobby Bare at 90, we need to look back at both the triumphs and the hidden struggles that shaped his extraordinary life. Born on April 7, 1935 in Ironton, Ohio, Bobby Bare's childhood was far from glamorous. His family struggled financially, and Bare quickly learned the meaning of hard work. Music, however, became his escape, a way to process the challenges of poverty and dream of something greater. Armed with little more than determination and an old guitar, he began writing songs as a teenager, hoping they would carry him beyond the steel mills and railroads of his hometown. But life threw its first tragedy his way early. Bare lost his mother at a young age, a devastating blow that shaped both his outlook on life and the themes of his music. Loneliness, heartache, and resilience would later become the cornerstones of his storytelling. By his 20s, he was already chasing the dream in Nashville, but the road to success was anything but easy. Rejections piled up, and more than once he considered giving up music altogether. Yet, destiny had other plans for the boy from Ohio. Bobby Bare's big break came in the early 1960s with the song Detroit City. Released in 1963, the track became an instant hit, earning him a Grammy Award and cementing his place in country music history. Its tale of homesickness and longing resonated with countless Americans who had left rural towns for industrial cities, only to find themselves yearning for home. Bare's heartfelt delivery made the song timeless, and suddenly, the man who once struggled for recognition was now a household name. This success opened doors to even bigger opportunities. He became a consistent hitmaker with songs like 500 Miles Away from Home, Four Strong Winds, and Streets of Baltimore. Bare's style was distinct, less polished than Nashville's mainstream sound, but authentic and deeply relatable. He wasn't just singing songs, he was telling the stories of everyday people. But while fame and recognition poured in, the seeds of personal tragedy were never far behind, foreshadowing the pain that would come later in his life. By the 1970s and 1980s, Bare had established himself as more than just a country star. He was part of the movement that gave birth to outlaw country. Alongside icons like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Chris Christopherson, Bare resisted the heavily commercialized Nashville sound and carved out his own path. He recorded songs that were raw, edgy, and sometimes humorous, earning him respect from fans who craved authenticity in their country music. Yet, being an outlaw also came with sacrifices. The industry often sidelined those who didn't conform, and Bare sometimes found himself at odds with record labels. Financial instability, grueling tours, and the pressure of maintaining relevance weighed heavily on him. Even as he thrived artistically, he began to feel the quiet loneliness of a man who lived more on the road than at home. Though he stood tall alongside his outlaw peers, he also bore the scars of a lifestyle that demanded everything and gave little peace in return. Despite the chaos of touring and fame, Bobby Bare always considered family his greatest treasure. He married Jeannie Sterling, and together they raised children, including Bobby Bare Jr., who would later follow in his father's musical footsteps. He was known to balance his life between the road and the home, but the balance wasn't always easy. Absences from family gatherings, missed milestones, and the constant pull of the stage created strain. Still, his devotion never wavered. He often credited his wife and children for grounding him during the wild years of his career. Songs he chose and stories he told often reflected his desire to remain connected to family values, even when the lifestyle of a touring musician threatened to pull him away. Today, at 90, those family bonds are both a source of strength and heartbreak, as age and illness make it harder for him to fully participate in the lives of his grandchildren and loved ones. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Bobby Bare's career continued to soar. He hosted a successful television variety show, The Bobby Bare Show, which showcased both established and emerging country artists. He collaborated with songwriters like Shel Silverstein, bringing to life quirky yet poignant songs such as Marie Laveau and Tequila Sheila. His ability to mix humor with deep storytelling kept him relevant in a rapidly changing industry. But behind the smiles and success, Bare wrestled with personal demons. Like many in the industry, he faced pressures from alcohol, long stretches away from home, and the toll of an unpredictable business. Friends recall moments when Bare seemed weighed down by the very fame he had worked so hard to achieve. Though he rarely spoke publicly about his struggles, they simmered beneath the surface, adding another layer of tragedy to a life that seemed glamorous from the outside, but was much more complicated within. One of the deepest tragedies of Bobby Bare's later life has been watching so many of his peers and friends pass away. Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, and Loretta Lynn, all part of the same generation that reshaped country music, are now gone. Each loss was a painful reminder of the passage of time and the fragility of life. By 2025, Bare finds himself as one of the last remaining voices of his era, carrying the weight of memories and the loneliness of survival. In interviews, Bare has spoken candidly about the strange sadness of outliving so many he once toured with, laughed with, and called family. While fans celebrate his longevity, for Bare, it has been a bittersweet journey. Every performance is now haunted by the absence of the friends who once shared the stage with him. His tragedy isn't only in age, it's in bearing witness to the slow fading of a golden generation of country music legends. At 90, Bobby Bare's health has inevitably become a central concern. Though he hasn't disclosed every detail publicly, those close to him confirm that he faces the common challenges of advanced age: frailty, limited mobility, and memory lapses. The once powerful stage presence is now a quiet shadow of itself, as his body struggles to keep up with his enduring spirit. Concerts and public appearances have become rare, and when they do happen, fans often notice the toll of time etched across his face. Yet Bare has faced these health battles with remarkable grace. He has expressed gratitude for simply being alive, knowing many of his contemporaries did not make it this far. Still, the heartbreak is undeniable. For fans, watching their idol grow weaker is painful. For his family, caring for him through these difficult years has been both an act of love and a source of emotional strain. The tragedy lies in the contrast between the vibrant performer he once was and the fragile man he has become. In recent years, Bobby Bare has stepped almost entirely away from the stage. After his induction to the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2013, he enjoyed a late-career resurgence, releasing albums and making select appearances. But by the mid-2020s, those moments grew fewer and farther behind. Retirement, once unimaginable for a man who lived for the stage, became a necessity. For Bare, retirement has been both a relief and a sorrow. On the one hand, it allows him time to rest and be with his family. On the other, it strips away the joy of performing, the very thing that defined his life for nearly 70 years. Fans who once filled concert halls now rely on recordings and memories, while Bare himself grapples with the silence that follows when the spotlight goes dark. The tragedy of this stage of life is not only the physical decline, but the loss of identity that comes when the music stops. Despite the sadness of his later years, Bobby Bare's legacy remains secure. In Nashville and beyond, he is revered as a pioneer who stayed true to himself. Younger artists, from country to Americana, cite him as a major influence. Tributes continue to pour in, celebrating his unique blend of humor, honesty, and storytelling. Even as he faces the struggles of aging, his name is spoken with respect in every corner of the music world. But for Bear himself, honors and awards are bittersweet. While he appreciates recognition, they also remind him of a career that is largely behind him. At 90, there is little left to prove, yet the shadow of mortality looms large. The tragedy is not that his legacy is forgotten, it is that he must carry it alone, with so many of his peers gone and his ability to perform diminished. He is honored, yes, but also haunted. For Bear's family, the tragedy is deeply personal. Watching their father, grandfather, and husband age has been both a privilege and a heartbreak. They cherish every moment with him, but cannot escape the reality of his decline. The man who once filled their lives with music, laughter, and stories now needs their care and protection. For them, the tragedy is not about fame or legacy, but about love and loss. His son, Bobby Bear Jr., continues to perform and keep the family name alive in music, a source of